world title in everyone's imagination. That's the heavyweight champ. You were here. Everyone else was here. But since then, the feeling has been Joshua makes all this money fighting anyway, 30 million pounds, whatever it is. Why should he take 40 or 50 to fight Wilder when he's making against anybody? He can make 30, 40 million pounds, whatever it is.
No fantasy contracts, just reality. You know, bringing our work to the table and bargaining and negotiating what we're worth and making this fight happen.
Which mentality do you come in with? I ask because when you were slick, to me that looked like a better fighter. But maybe this is the kind of fight where you just need to impose your strength.
Anthony Joshua's calm but steady confidence was immediately noticeable as he sat down with Max Kellerman before the upcoming showdown with Jake Paul, a matchup that has sparked excitement among traditional boxing fans and newcomers alike. During the discussion, Joshua didn't just focus on tactics. He opened up about the pressure he carries, the meaning of his legacy, and the unusual attention surrounding this unexpected fight. Kellerman pushed him to go deeper, asking about the critics, the expectations, and what truly motivated Joshua to face one of the most talked about figures in the sport today.
World or a heavyweight champion, you're an undefeated Olympic super heavyweight gold medalist, you're entering your physical prime, and you put 100,000 people in Wembley. So I get your argument. I have the economic clout. He's not coming in as partners. I should get a bigger slice of the pie. Let's have a realistic negotiation.
Kellerman, known for mixing sharp boxing analysis with a bit of dramatic skepticism, quickly addressed the larger storyline. He stated that there's no denying how unusual this matchup is in the heavyweight scene. Joshua is a former world champion. Jake Paul began as an internet entertainer. So the big question remains, why is this fight happening at all? It's the same question millions around the world have been repeating since the announcement. Joshua's answer shaped the tone for the entire interview.
Beat a guy like that, you're not going to outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering.
When Kellerman asked what he respects most about Jake Paul, Joshua replied calmly but firmly, he's bringing new eyes to boxing. He pointed out that even though Paul entered the sport in an unconventional way and had zero amateur experience, he still pushes himself straight into the toughest situations. In Joshua's view, Paul willingly puts himself under pressure and keeps challenging himself at a high level. Joshua said that enthusiasm, along with Paul's commitment to taking risks, helps bring more attention to boxing and introduces the sport to audiences who may have never watched it before.
Jake Paul, does he remind you of any guy that you fought before? Or is this a unique situation that you've never come across?
Very unique situation I've never come across, but treating with the same respect that I give all my competition.
So you got the mental fortitude, he's got the mental fortitude. But what's the one best thing that you pride Jake Paul of having that maybe you haven't seen in other competition you faced so far?
From a physical aspect, I couldn't even mention it at the minute. But from a mental aspect, he offered me to fight. Normally, I'm offering people fights. He's told me, come and fight. So he believes in himself.
What does the word legacy mean to you, AJ?
Legacy, what does it mean? This is what I was actually asking someone. What does legacy mean? I don't even know.
The size difference between the two fighters has quickly become one of the main topics of discussion, and for good reason. Jake Paul has always been strong and well built for the divisions he usually competes in, but when he stands next to Anthony Joshua, the difference is startling. It becomes a true David and Goliath visual. Joshua doesn't just stand taller. His entire frame reflects years of training as a natural heavyweight. The contrast between them in photos and face-offs is almost unbelievable. Even though Paul has added muscle and increased his weight, he still can't match the natural size, reach, or physical presence of a fighter who has spent his whole career competing against top heavyweights.
Versus AJ, as though Jake Paul is the bigger in this equation. Not for me. Maybe for MVP, Nikisa, Jake Paul, but not for me. I've kind of marked it or titled it David versus Goliath just because of the size difference. Like, Jake Paul's a big guy. He is. He's 6'1", 220, probably fights around, the 200-pound mark. AJ is an enormous guy. Like, he's a big unit. I think Jake realized that when they came face to face. I don't know if that's the first time they've ever come that close. I'm sure they've met behind the scenes, but I think there was a realization from Jake Paul, like, fuck, This is a big dude. It's a very, very big dude who isn't coming to play. Like, there was no play with AJ. That was a press conference that almost sounded like AJ versus someone in the top 10, where AJ's taking it seriously. He's answering the questions direct that Ariel's throwing him. There was no, yeah, we're here to kind of fuck around. It's going to be easy. Give me my money. Let me run back to the UK. This was AJ's like, no, we're taking this seriously. And that ain't a good thing for Jake Paul. It isn't. And AJ's that guy anyway. Like, I would never doubt that AJ would take this seriously. But for Jake Paul, I do wonder if realization is kicking in, or maybe he is just that delusional where he doesn't care. I do, and I've been sort of corrected by a few people who maybe know better, but I do think the Americans don't credit or rate AJ. I do think there's a bit of that. I remember when AJ did the rounds prior to the Ruiz fight, and there were a few people like, yeah, you're not that good.
Nikisa Bidarian, the CEO of Most Valuable Promotions, the company behind Jake Paul, told Sky Sports that the December 19th fight with Anthony Joshua is being prepared as a major global event. Bidarian admitted that Joshua comes in with far more experience, but he also said Paul's extreme self-belief might be the unexpected element that makes this fight interesting. He also revealed that the matchup was fast-tracked. The original plan was for them to meet in 2026, but Paul pushed to bring the fight forward, and the negotiations were sped up so the bout could happen now instead of years later.
Will there be a limit for Joshua?
So there's a lot of discussion around the weight. Joshua fought Usyk twice. Both of those times, Usyk was 221 pounds. Joshua was 240 to 245. When Jake fought Mike Tyson last year, 227 pounds. I expect Jake will come in anywhere between 225 and 230, and Anthony Joshua has a weight limit of 245 pounds.
There will be those, as you're aware, that will look at it and criticise this fight. There already have been, haven't there? They'll say it's a real mismatch. What would you say to them? Are we going to be watching sport at its purest?
I would say it's much less of a mismatch than what you saw with AJ and Francis Ngannou, who a massive man, but relatively no boxing experience. I would say it's much less of a mismatch than AJ's 9th or 10th fight against guys who've been knocked out 20 to 25 times. Given AJ's pedigree, Jake is built for this. Jake is built for the big moments. So do I think it's dangerous for Jake Paul? Absolutely. Do I think it's also dangerous for Anthony Joshua?
Alexander Usyk has been very direct about his views on the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight. To him, the matchup isn't even close. Usyk compared Joshua to a Rolls-Royce and Paul to a Fiat, making it clear that he sees no realistic comparison between a seasoned heavyweight and a social media personality who became a boxer. He said the difference isn't just about popularity or noise, it's about the basics, the experience, and the physical level required for this division. Usyk believes Paul is stepping into real danger facing Joshua because their backgrounds in boxing are worlds apart.
Anthony Joshua is Olympic champion. Yeah. First. Jake Paul is, sportsman, YouTuber, showman. Rolls-Royce, Fiat. Listen, it's true. I'm not.
Oh my god. I have nothing better in mind.
Yeah. It's just true. It's business, more money. Only this.
So we need to pray for Jake Paul.
Yes. I will pray Jake Paul because I want fight with Jake Paul in octagon.
Yeah.
Do you think that Joshua should be fighting Tyson Fury next year?
I want this fight. Yeah, I fan.
Tony Jeffries, an Olympic boxer, offered a different perspective on why Jake Paul deserves to be taken seriously. He explained that Jake has access to every resource a fighter could ever want. He can hire top trainers, elite strength coaches, sports psychologists, nutrition experts, and high-level sparring partners. Because of his financial advantage, Paul can build a perfect training camp without cutting any corners. Jeffries also said that Jake understands this is the biggest challenge of his entire career, so he will push harder than ever in preparation. On top of that, Jake has the benefit of youth. Jeffries reminded people that in boxing, being younger is one of the strongest advantages. Younger fighters recover faster, handle tougher training, and usually enter the ring fresher and more energetic.
Tail of the tape. Now looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else. What comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pound versus 252 pound. We got a 252-pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are included at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Now, in the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost one. AJ has had 28 fights, and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really, it's better for Anthony Joshua because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through and switch them to 12s? But I guess these days, anything happens in boxing, right? The boys will follow similar rules to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in November, but that fight was 8 2-minute rounds and 14-ounce gloves. Not similar if it's smaller gloves and 2-minute rounds. Who wrote this for DAZN? It marks the first time Joshua will have contested less than 10 rounds.
So, is this fight just a messy mismatch, or could it turn into a surprising blockbuster?